Very exciting fight. Um, very few people expected that result. People started really believing that Joe Joyce can sort of walk through walls. He can walk through whatever artillery you let off at him. His prior fight against Joseph Parker, he did look like the Terminator. Joseph Parker, who is a very, very respected puncher in the heavyweight division, former heavyweight champion, landed some of his best shots, and they didn't make Joe blink. So I think people started believing in, the invincibility side of Joe's game, and it's a dangerous game because we're all human. If you hit anybody hard enough, they're going to get knocked out. In this game of boxing, you can't just accept every shot that comes through you can land and you're going to win the fight. Doesn't work that way. And he found that out. It was a tough lesson to learn. He wasn't able to adjust his technique mid-fight, and Zhang put on a great performance. He really did. He was solid. He had a great game plan. He went out there really focused, obviously, on that backhand, that southpaw left hand down the pipe, which couldn't miss. He literally couldn't miss that backhand. And Joe's face at the end of the fight, you can see exactly, the results of that. So this time round, he's going to need to make some major adjustments in terms of his defense, in terms of picking his punching, not keeping his head straight up in the air, legs straight, eating shots. He's going to have to, move his head, get down a little lower. Zhang's a bigger man than himself. Zhang doesn't like the pace. So to have a high pace, but not a pace in which, he's constantly trading, because Zhang's obviously he's shown trading against the southpaw, didn't really work last time. So, I know Ismail Salas, his coach, is going to really make sure his head's off that line. He's throwing good body shots. Zhang, solid amateur pedigree, pretty much undefeated if you don't really count the Filip Hrgovic controversial loss that he received. So you got to treat guys of that stature, of that pedigree, with respect. And it didn't look like he treated Zhang with the respect he was due, and as a result, he came off second best. If he wins this fight, I see a title fight of some description. I say he hangs on till he gets a title shot, or he has a tune-up fight against someone who doesn't really resemble Zhang, because that was the craziest sort of marking time fight I've ever heard of. It was a brave choice of opponent. That's literally throwing him in against the toughest, most awkward fighter on the planet. He's like a younger, fresher Louis Ortiz. The Cuban. Very few people choose to fight a southpaw, let alone one who was Olympic silver medaler, let alone someone else who's pretty much undefeated. But Joe's that guy. He really believes in himself. He believes he's the best in the world, just needs the opportunity. He thought he could just walk through Zhang. He miscalculated. This time round, I'm really hoping he uses his athleticism. He can do a standing backflip. He can do these acrobats. He's super dynamic. He's very explosive. And he needs to apply that explosivity into his punches and into his punch evasion. He needs to get the head moving fast. Can't just stand there like that, just getting hit down the middle. That doesn't work against a southpaw. He knows that now. He's watched the fight back, and I'm sure smart lad, he's going to make the adjustments needed. It's going to be very different to the first fight. After talking to Joe understands what and why went wrong, and he's going to make the necessary adjustments. I'm hoping there wasn't too much damage done in that last fight. It's all good and well having a new game plan, but he took a lot of stick in that last fight. He took more sort of clean concussive punches than most people receive in their whole career in that fight. If you look at the size of Zhang, how many people get hit in the face by someone 19 and a half stone continuously, for 6 rounds. It's a lot of trauma. I'm hoping he brushes off. He's refreshed. He hasn't had too many hard rounds of sparring. He's focused on punch evasion, and he comes out there and shows us So what he can do, what he was doing 5, 6, 7 fights ago, when he was moving, he was on his toes, he was in and out of range, he was coming off the line. You know, the recent Joe Joyce is just been about just walking through walls. And as entertaining it is for the fans watching a man just eating leather, it's great for the fans. They love it. They don't care about this a human being with a brain. You know, every time you get hit, it does damage to you. It doesn't make you a better fighter taking concussive heavyweight punches. So I'd love to see him go out there and show us how good his defensive is, because he's going to need that if he gets that heavyweight title shot. If he wins this fight, the next fight up for him most likely will be a heavyweight title shot against the likes of Usyk, who beat him in the amateurs, or Tyson Fury, who he sparred with many times before. So he knows what he's got, how he's got to raise his game. And doing what he did in his last fight against Zhang, you know, that wasn't enough by any stretch of the imagination for either of those two champions.